You beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great. As the title of this video does suggest, we have the coolest build in the history of the channel. Finally, a proper samurai build, and let me tell you, it shreds the enemies like it is butter, and all you guys have to do is use your katana. Now, I am an anime fan, I'm not even going to deny it, and because of this, I can't decide whether to color or fashion frame my Umbra to either Ichigo's Getsuke Tencho or Goldie Roger's Defiant Departure. Let me know down in the comment section, are you guys on team One Piece or are you guys on team Bleach? Let me know, as both of these animes are neck and neck to me. So for this build, we are going to be using Umbra. Normal Excalibur is slightly better, funny enough only because the passive for Umbra is not that good. But we are going to be using an augment to counter that. I preferred Umbra because of the fact that he looks better, and of course you can take full mods of the sacrificial mods, which gives us a boosted stats. Now the build will allow you to go and hit in the millions. However, if you guys do have regular Excalibur, that's actually better because then you don't have to go and waste an entire slot on an augment called Warrior's Rest. Warrior's Rest is going to allow you to, or it's going to allow Umbra to act like a regular Warframe, because if you guys didn't know, he acts like an NPC while you guys are in operator form. Now this NPC is not very good, as you know, you can't go and heal yourself using Vazarin's protective sling, which gives you invulnerability flame. So go and use Warrior's Rest, very important. In terms of Archon shards, we are going all in on the Crimson shards, and each shard will increase overall critical damage for our melee weapons. And because we're going to be hitting crits all the time, why not go and give us big boy numbers, you know what I'm saying? Now here's the build for Excalibur Umbra, and I can't exactly remember if you actually do need one whole Forma for this build, and even if we do, I don't remember what is what. All I know is here is the build, and this build is relatively flexible. It's entirely up to whatever your guys playstyle. So we've got ourselves growing power for our aura to give us even more power strength, Umbral Intensify, Transient Fortitude, Augur Secrets, and finally Warrior's Rest for power strength. The more strength you guys have, the more potent Furious Javelin is going to be, and Furious Javelin is another augment which is going to allow you to increase your melee damage by 15% for every enemy you hit. Next up is we are going to be using Augur Reach and Stretch for our range, which is going to allow us to have an even bigger area of effect. Now remember, the bigger the area effect, the more enemies you can hit in a single blow, therefore increasing your overall melee damage thanks to Radial Javelin. Now this particular mod right here is entirely up to you, but I went with Energy Nexus, which allows me to basically have 3 energy regeneration per second, and then here you can just go and stick in an Arcane Energize. But me, for the video's sake, I like to go and have damage, so we're going to be using Molt Augmented for even more power strength, and Arcane Fury for even more melee damage. So just like I said at the very beginning of this video, we are going to be making a samurai build, and what kind of samurai will not be wielding a katana? But we are going to be building a very fun, if not one of the best katanas in the game, and that is the Siam. Now the Siam has a unique trait. Basically, heavy attacks launches shockwaves dealing heat damage in a straight line. This is probably the bread and butter when it comes to tying in your samurai build, and if you're a big anime fan, this is exactly the weapon for you. Onto the build, as you guys can tell, we haven't added any Forma whatsoever because it is what I'm known for. I will be adding more Forma onto this, but because for the video's sake, it has no Forma. And here are the mods. Decisive Judgment for our stance. Doesn't really matter what you guys use, it's purely preference. You can either use Decisive Judgment or Blind Justice, whichever stance you guys like, go ahead and use it. Next up is we have Prime Pressure Point for our base damage. We've got Killing Blow for even more base damage if we go and deal a heavy attack along with a much faster heavy wind up speed. We've also got ourselves a TennoKai over here, which is called Discipline's Merit. Basically, you guys go hit the enemy like 6 times and then you'll be able to activate TennoKai, which will give you a free heavy hit. Therefore, it will not allow you to reset your combo multiplier regardless of how much you currently have. Next up is we do have Volcanic Edge for even more heat damage. We've got ourselves Blood Rush, Organ Shatter, Gladiamite for even more crits and our critical damage, and finally to go and tie everything off, we do have Sacrificial Steel for even more critical chance. Remember, sacrificial steel will double our current critical chance, therefore we will deal even bigger numbers. So all of this will just purely allow you to just go and just throw out slashes, and of course you'll be dealing a lot of damage. One thing I also want to talk to you guys about is the melee arcanes. So I'm currently using melee exposure, which is, basically if I go and cast my abilities or cycle through them, then I'll be able to have a total of 240% damage. If you guys are lucky enough to have the rank 5 one, then you'll be able to be using less energy to go and reach that high state. But essentially it just gives us more corrosive damage on our blade, therefore dealing a lot of damage. If you guys don't want melee exposure, you can always go with a very expensive arcane called Melee Crescendo. Melee Crescendo will allow you to keep your combo multiplier for the duration of the entire mission. However, you have to then go and execute a lot of enemies. I'm not too sure how many times you'll be doing this, but essentially you'll be able to always keep your 12 times multiplier once you've executed the correct amount of enemies based on whatever level your arcane currently is. This loadout also includes a primary and a secondary weapon. Now, we're only going to be using the arcanes that are attached to them, as the fire rate for both of these is irrelevant to this build, because at the end of the day, what kind of samurai goes and uses a machine gun and a book of spells to go and kill his enemies? A little bit different, don't you think? But yeah, like I said, the arcanes that we are going to be using is primary dexterity and secondary dexterity. Now, we don't care about what its primary uses are, we only care about the combo duration that it gives towards our melee weapon. As you can see, we are going to be given an additional 7.5 combo duration. The same thing can be said with our secondary. Of course, we are going to be utilizing the companion's ability to increase our overall damage. How do we do this? We are going to be using a mod called Tenacious Bond, which increases our critical damage multiplier or final critical damage multiplier by 1.2x if our companion's critical damage or critical chance is above 50%. So what I did was I went and I go on and equipped the Valor lock and then put a mod called Critical Delay, which will give us 200% critical chance. Doing this will give us a 105% critical chance, therefore we can take full advantage of Tenacious Bond. Alright, so we're currently in the simulacrum. I'm going to demonstrate to you guys exactly how this particular loadout works. So first things first, we're going to max out our melee exposure to give us that sweet 240% additional corrosive damage to our melee weapon. Currently it's at 240 right now. Next, we want to then go and attack the enemies. So pull out your secondary, that should be right here. Hit them with your alt fire and wait until your damage or your duration is at 60%. Once that's done, hit them with your radial javelin, hit them with your blind because more damage, and just start attacking them. Doing so, you guys will notice that our basic slash attacks will be absolutely decimating all of these units, and that's only because of all the damage stacks we currently do have. And remember, we are going to be using mod augmented, so we're going to be increasing our overall damage for every enemy we do land up slaying. And of course, just make sure to go and hit that abilities, therefore you can just refresh melee exposure. Alright, so most of our damage has been maxed out. We still have to wait on mod augmented, but I don't feel like spending a whole year here, so we're just going to do whatever you guys have. So as you guys can tell, we've got most of our builds here. Hit them with our slash. As you see, 2 million damage. And I mean, this damage is so heavily boosts your melee. Basic strikes just absolutely eat right through the enemies and you'll have no issues whatsoever. So I'm going to do that one more time because it's just very satisfying absolutely owning these enemies. So once again, move them up, activate all your buffs, activate TennoKai by hitting, and then heavy attack. As you saw, 3 million damage, and our basic slashes will literally eat right through all of that armor. Ladies and gentlemen, I make some pretty awesome Warframe content, so if you guys would like to go from 0 to hero as fast as humanly possible, go ahead and take a look at the rest of my videos. There should be some links down in the description, or YouTube should be suggesting them to you at the top right, so I highly recommend you guys go and take a look at them. Do remember to leave a like on this video, it always helps me out substantially. Spot and click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. I make like a banana and split.